Alright, so today is going to be a different video than what would normally happen. So we're going to be kind of discussing the future plans and project outlook for the AutoCraft server here. Some of you may have known, but as of now, 1.19 has also been released for the version of the game. And those of you that don't know, we are still in 1.17.1. This is for a majority of reasons, but the main ones being that basically all of our perimeters here that we have on the server would basically be worthless at that point, due to all the blocks that would now spawn below the bedrock layer, which is 64 blocks all the way down. And that in and of itself will not only make most of our mob farm perimeters that we have basically useless, they will not work anymore. Be able to basically either, there's a couple solutions there, which we'll talk about a little bit, and why the menus might haven't updated yet to those newer versions. But because, as you can see here, we put a lot of time and effort into our decoration for our perimeters that we do on the server, there's not really any easy alternate way around this. And I know there have been some things that doesn't affect already generated chunks. However, our height map would still be increased, which would then still lower the rates of our farms significantly, especially ones that are built as low as possible. For example, Y0 farms or mob farms that we have that are just built as low as possible, either with or without any bedrock breaking in the floor here. Those are kind of like the quick things to go over, like, why we really haven't decided to update as of now. Kind of why we really haven't, there is some things with our perimeters. So the only feasible ways for us to upgrade and not really have to do a lot when we upgrade to like make a whole new perimeter would be to avoid all of the bedrock. Now there's also another solution, or another issue with that here. As you can see, we have floor decoration on top of this. Now you can't see with my texture pack, but there is a layer of glass on top of this too. Well, it's not too big of a deal if you use like, TNT and stuff like that to clear out the floor. Not only that, we would have to clear out the walls to make room for the bedrock breakers, if we wanted to completely void out our spawn perimeter again, that is. And to do that, we'd either have to rip out the floor, blow the floor up, so we have access to the bedrock layers. Personally, that just doesn't make any sense to me, especially for our server, because we probably have, if I had to guess, probably close to, if I had to guess, probably around 20 perimeters in the overworld, in this world so far, and we always are adding more to it. But like I said, this isn't really something that is feasible for us on this scale if we wanted to completely grade and update every single perimeter to be 1.18 ready, if we wanted to not have to worry about remaking the perimeter at the bottom, which would, the only solution to that would be to void out or to break all of the bedrock in the perimeter for that area, because the new terrain does not generate if there is no bedrock below it, or above it in that case. Not to mention that doing that much bedrock breaking will require a lot of pistons, time, and bedrock breakers that it would probably take us close to a year minimum just to void out all the perimeters, let alone to then redo the decoration. And then we would also have to, if it's in a new area, we would have to extend. Either we would have to extend the floor down, which would mean we would have to then extend the walls down as well, 64 blocks. All in all, it's just a ton of work, especially for our larger perimeters, like this one, which is our spawn perimeter, which is a 366 by 366 floor, including the wall, so you get 368 by 368 this perimeter is. Now, some other perimeters that we have, like our render distance perimeters that we have also recently been starting to do, like this one over here for the XP farm, that is a 512 by 512 area, which is 4 times the size of the regular 256 by 256 perimeter in terms of volume, which adds up quite a bit. Extraordinary amount of pistons, extraordinary amount of time and effort to do the decoration and stuff like that. If we were to, for whatever reason, run out of projects or things to do in 1.17, which is highly unlikely, or we just really, want to keep up with the current content, we would update to 1.18 or 1.19 or whatever version we would like to do. The only issue with that is I feel like we would do something similar to what SciCraft is doing and basically start over, but in another area of the world. That being because this would, if we were to upgrade and not spend all the time to void all the perimeters, we would have a lot of stuff that would either break or be extremely laggy in that case, because it's also load in more terrain, which was not there originally because the perimeter was a perimeter, obviously, and it's not that anymore. So those would be the things that if we were to update, we would probably do something similar to SideCraft, move far away, and then make that our new area. We probably would keep the spawn chunks here and just have a really long straight piston bolt like out of probably tens of thousands of blocks, but that would be the only thing for that. And then there would obviously be some other enhancements we would do, but it would just kind of be a bit of a rough situation for a technical server standpoint. Now, if you don't play technical Minecraft and you don't have a lot of perimeters, or you don't really care that much about your perimeter being basically useless at that time, obviously upgrading to the newer versions gives you a bit more content and new things to play around with, whilst when you're in the older version, you only have what you were given. This is currently the majority of the server members' opinions to keep it in 1.17 until we run out a lot of projects to do, or we just don't really want to do anything else in the current version, and then we'll make our final decisions then. Like I said, this is currently the state of the server now, and it is subject to change based off, new updates that get released and stuff like that. But all in all, we are currently good as planning to stay on to 1.17 for quite some time. That being said, some things that I would like to experience in the newer versions that I have am somewhat excited about is the only thing in 1.19 I can think of is the minecarts that when they break, so for example, a minecart hopper, minecart chest, minecart furnace, they will drop as the item themselves and not split into a hopper and a minecart like they do currently in the older versions. Personally, for 1.18, there isn't much interest in from a technical standpoint, because all that really gets added personally is the addition of 64 blocks below and above. So that's the only thing that is really added in 1.18 compared to 1.17, and obviously Deep Slate being more abundant because you have 64 layers of that compared to the little pockets that you have as of now. So if we were to update, we probably wouldn't go to 1.18, we would go straight to 1.19. Or if we were to go past that, say that 1.20 is out by the time we update, we would probably go to that, because there's nothing really special about 1.19 as of right now either, besides, like, from a technical standpoint, warden farms, not really that useful, besides getting a little bit of, sculk blocks or things like that. Not really much as of now, and besides the frog lights, that's kind of the only other things, another farm for us to do. That's the only other thing I think of for 1.19, because those are kind of like sea lanterns, but they are sort of colored. Would have been really cool if we got 16 colors of those, like we do with any other color in the game, like, concrete powder, stuff like that, and glass. That would have been really, really cool to have, multiple colors of light sources that would fit any theme that you have going on, but there is the only 3 based off the 3 types of frogs. And I guess the only other thing that could be sort of okay is the allays for unstackable sorters, but then again, there are other unstackable sorters that don't rely on a mob, which can be less laggy and stuff like that, and harder and easier to do. Now there is the thing that they introduced with the allay dupin, where you give them something on a jukebox, and then they basically get 2 of them. Sort of like breeding in a sense, but you only need 1 to start the process, which is like exponential growth for anything that you start to breed. Once you get a couple times that you bred, you'll get a big boost, and it'll just continuously go up in there. But yeah, so to go over, to start from the updates, we'll go over a little bit of projects that we have currently planned, that we are currently working on. As some of you may know, you have come by the streams, or you hang out in the Discord, you would see some projects that are currently being worked on. One of them being our new raid farm perimeter, which is also another render distance perimeter. It has the floor done, and we're just working on the walls, because it is roughly about 400,000 blocks for just the walls alone, not including the 200,000 blocks that were done for the floor, which of course is a custom art that I had made for this one. This one was the most expensive one out of the out of the mob farm arts that we had made for the server. It was roughly double the cost of any of the other ones that I have made, and that is because of how many mobs I wanted to have in the main art piece. So obviously characters are the hardest part to do for any given art, and there's a lot of mobs in a raid, so that adds up quite quickly. But yeah, that's one of the projects we have going on. There is also developments of a new piston factory. Of course, who would have guessed? There's actually developments for 2 of them, but I will not give any details on those as of now, but some of the server members do know, and of course, the Patreons, mainly the tier 3 Patreons, do know about the one that I've been working on by myself. It is something that is a huge step up, not only in terms of compactness, but also speed and features that the factory will have. There's also another thing that's going on for the Patreon perimeter, which is what I'm going to call it. It is a perimeter to basically show a bit more support to the Patreons, because they are the ones that keep the server operational. Whether you may know or not, I do have a Patreon here. They either get you some cool perks or even some access to unreleased schematics. I will show the picture here of the Patreon page that I do have. If you're interested, definitely not required by any means, but it is definitely something that does help keep the server operational here. I know personally, and from all the server members that are currently on the server, do appreciate your help keeping the server operational. But yeah, there's a lot of things you can get from that Patreon, including access to projects that only those people would know about. Patreon's created to kind of like give you guys some access to kind of like feel like you're on the server, but you're not actually on the physical server. Currently just trying to get everything set up with the new internet that I did get. So I do have gigabit ethernet now, which definitely will improve not only the upload speeds of the YouTube videos, but as well as the download and then the connection. The most important part is the connection for players to the server, which was also a main concern. But yeah, of course, there's also other things that are always being worked on in creative, in the either the creative copy of the world or the main CMP to plan things out, whether that's new projects, new designs of things that we're trying to improve, or whether that's new perimeter decorations, which we do have some that are quite cool. For those that aren't in the Discord, there is, or if you are in the Discord and you don't know about this, there is a channel under server info, the category for that. There is a current project outlook tab, which lists all the projects that we currently do have planned to do at some point in this world. They're not listed in any order in particular, but some of the stuff we do plan to do is a spider perimeter, a blaze perimeter, a wither rose farm, which we still don't have in this world over almost 2 years, actually with the rose farm, which is kind of bad. A squid farm perimeter, so need to do a villager trading hall, which we still probably should do fairly soon, but as well as a guardian perimeter, a flower farm and area. When you want to, something that did come up on the stream one time, is to update the Hogland farm area, because it is currently not really, update suppressed, and it is sort of definitely be improved in terms of also making a perimeter on the overworld side as well as updating the nether side. And the same thing has also been discussed to do that same thing with the skeleton farm that we currently do have. And one of the other ones is also in a new general mob farm perimeter, as well as we do really want to do a 1k by 1k void perimeter, which would basically be around 5 million pistons without the overhead included, which is kind of crazy to think about. But once we get that new lazy loot and raid farm that we have been talking about, that will give us a substantial increase of redstone production per hour over our Chronos raid farm that we currently do have. Now, yes, this is not the most ideal farm because it doesn't create enough gunpowder to fully sustain it. However, we have plans to do that, and we also have AutoCrafting, so we can have whatever gunpowder we get from that farm will just strictly go to crafting TNT to give to the player. Now, it is roughly 75% of the gunpowder that you use for the TNT that you get back. We're hoping to run the creeper farm that we have to create gunpowder, to stock up on a bunch of that, get a bunch of sand from the dupers, and then just stockpile on a couple million or so of TNT. That way we can have that to run the farm to supply that extra, the remaining 25% of that TNT to the player. That way we can technically, in theory, in quotation marks here, run it fully autonomously for quite a bit of time to stock up on that precious redstone that we would need for those pistons. Now, I do know there are lossless breakers, but in the current state of those breakers, they do use lazy chunks. So doing that on a server setting is not ideal because people will load it and then we'll still lose pistons because of the mechanics that they are now, because of how those breakers do work currently. But there is some stuff that I know, some stuff that I'm not supposed to say, but there are some things in the works to greatly improve that, especially for a server setting. For a single player setting, those lossless breakers are a huge lifesaver because you're the only person there, unless you have carpet mod, which obviously if you're there and you know about how lazy chunks work, obviously wouldn't spawn a bot in an area that you don't need the bot to be spawned. But yeah, those are kind of, the future projects and plans that we have here. Sorry, this is a bit of a different episode, but I think some people would actually like to know what's going on, not only within the server or our future plans, but also our current projects that we are working on. A little bit of insight for you guys there. This week has been quite crazy for me, so this is why this video is kind of a little bit different and short and sweet. Basically no progress done on the server in this video, but there has been progress done behind the scenes. These projects are also taking very long because of the current scale that we're doing the stuff with, and the decoration now being upped a little bit. So instead of this being, like a single 2D wall art, they are being 3D, and that has taken quite some time, and it's actual effort into the walls, not just, walking back and forth in a straight line like these current walls here. And they don't look bad by any means, but we can definitely step it up by doing some more decoration. Now that we have some really good decorator on the server, this does help quite a bit with stuff like this. However, I do appreciate you guys being patient with me and stuff like that. This week has been, like I said, been quite crazy for me, so this is why this video is the way it is. Appreciate you guys watching and sticking with me. That is going to be it for this episode. Make sure you like, subscribe, all those sorts of things, and I will see you in the next one.